Hey guys, today we're back here on theHunter Call of the Wild, and today I'ma give you 10 pro tricks and tips for new players so I can hopefully make your Call of the Wild hunting experience a lot better. And if you enjoy this kind of content, please make sure to like the video and please consider subscribing to the channel guys, it really helps a lot. Now guys, let me know in the comments, what level in the game are you and how much are you liking it, I would love to know. So the first tip I have for you guys is that once you unlock the first watchtower after spawning on the map, right after shooting the whitetail that spawns right here, head over to the first outpost, right here, and the first thing you want to do once you arrive to the outpost is to first of all unlock it, unlock the outpost. You'll notice you'll gain some money and experience just for unlocking it, and the reason is because there's a mission at the start that requires to unlock an outpost and to unlock a watchtower, which are two things you already did. So having completed these first basic steps, you'll want to head over to the storage. And this is the first very important tip guys, the first very important step that really makes a difference when you are starting out. You are gonna grab a 4-wheeler and you are gonna go unlock every single watchtower and every single outpost around the map. You know, the reasons why I think it's very important to unlock the map first is because first of all, every time you unlock one of these green icons, for example this one, you are gonna get some money and experience that can be very important when starting out. So the more of these icons you claim, the more you are gonna level up. You are gonna level up several times while unlocking the entire map. Then the second reason why I think it makes a big difference is because once you have every single outpost unlocked, you are gonna have access to the best hotspots in the map and to every single species. And at the end of the day, the best way to level up quickly is by hunting animals. Which brings me to a second point. You are gonna need some decent weapons in order to be able to hunt the majority of the species. And to be completely honest, the 3 weapons they give you to start with the exception of the Ranger 243, which is actually very useful for many species, are complete trash. So this pistol, you don't want it, this shotgun, you don't want it, and assuming you haven't bought a single DLC, the only 2 rifles that I would suggest you using at the start are the 243 Ranger and the 270 Stradivarius. Now let's go to the store. First we're gonna go to the rifle section. Here's where you can see all the rifles that you are able to purchase. If you have any DLCs, all the rifles included on such DLC will show up here, but assuming you haven't bought a single DLC, most of the weapons inside this section will be completely locked. So make sure to pay attention to the requirements to unlock each rifle, but I gotta say, if I had to choose one rifle, which I think you should really prioritize over the others to buy first, that is the 7mm. This one. You aren't gonna be able to buy it from the start because it isn't precisely cheap for a beginner, but your short-term goal should be to get enough credits to buy it. It really makes a big difference. And it honestly shouldn't take you too long to get enough credits as long as you're using the 2 rifles I mentioned. Just gotta make sure to use the correct ammo. So let's go to the ammo section. You are gonna want to purchase a couple sets of 270 soft-point bullets for the 270, and as many sets of 243 soft-point bullets as you want, since they are free. Your goal here should be to use these bullets, especially the ones for the 270, to kill enough animals to unlock the 243 polymer tip bullets. You know, while the soft-point bullets are completely free, they are also quite weaker than the polymer tip versions. They have a lot less penetration, which results in less animals killed, so you'll want to replace them as soon as possible for the polymer tip versions. You know, simply kill like 2 or 3 animals using the 270 and you'll have enough points to unlock them. Now once you bought the ammo, make sure to go back to the storage. And here on the storage, you'll have access to every single of the items you have bought so far. So let's go to the ammo section. And as you can see here on the left side, we have the 270 soft-point bullets that we bought. We are simply gonna drag them to the right side, which is our inventory. And once you dragged everything you bought from the storage to the inventory, you're gonna have it all available inside your actual inventory, ready to equip. And also, apart from the rifles and the polymer tip bullets, another thing you wanna unlock as soon as possible is this scope. The Hyperion Rifle Scope. The difference between the scope and the initial scope is massive, so it's gonna make the task of hunting animals a lot easier. You are gonna be able to kill a lot more animals and consequently gain a lot more cash and experience. Then in addition to the scope, another thing that also makes a huge difference and that you definitely also wanna unlock as soon as possible are the Apex View binoculars. There's not even a comparison with the initial binoculars. The improvement is simply massive. Now guys, if you prefer to not spend so much time unlocking all these items and you want to find a way to exponentially speed up the process of leveling up, what I would suggest you is to buy a single DLC. Well, actually I'ma give you 3 DLC suggestions, but I think the first one should be your priority. The Modern Rifles Weapon Pack. That is the most important DLC in my opinion. It includes the SARS-22, which is an amazing Class 1 rifle, and one of the only options you have if you don't wanna hunt Class 1 animals using a shotgun. You know, this rifle is simply perfect to hunt species like rabbits, dogs, and turkeys. Then it also includes the SARS-308, which is actually one of the best weapons in the game, and it's gonna let you kill everything from a whitetail to a moose pretty easily. Fantastic rifle with an incredibly fast rate of fire, which makes it very effective against a great number of species. So only for this rifle alone, I think this pack is completely worth it, especially as a beginner. Now another DLC that I would also suggest you buying, only if you plan to purchase a second DLC, is the High Caliber Weapon Pack. The High Caliber Weapon Pack includes 3 different weapons. The first one is the 4570 handgun, which is a really versatile weapon that is capable of dropping everything from a blacktail to a bison. The second weapon is the Strandberg 10 gauge shotgun, which is one of the best shotguns in the game and is incredibly useful to hunt every kind of a small game. You know, these 2 weapons are excellent and definitely nice to have, but the real star of the show on this pack is the Arsina 300 Mag. The Arsina 300 Magnum. The 300 Magnum is a high caliber weapon, which makes it one of the absolute best options to hunt the biggest species like the moose, the bisons, the buffaloes, and many more. Hunting the biggest animals, like for example the European bisons on Hirschfelden or the plains bisons on Yukon Valley, is one of the best ways to make easy money and experience, so as a beginner, having access to this rifle can be an absolute game changer. Now, in addition to the 2 DLCs I've mentioned, a third DLC that I would also recommend you buying is the Tents DLC. The Tents DLC is completely free on console, so you're only gonna have to purchase it if you're on PC, but man, it really makes a huge difference. You can place 16 tents around the map, and each tent works as a fast travel point. So for example, you can place tents around the hotspots that aren't close to the nearest outpost in order to be able to access them easily and be able to hunt a lot more animals. And you may be wondering, how do I know where to find animals? How do I know the best locations to find each species? You know, something that is very important to understand about this game in order to understand the locations of each animal is that every single species has a certain home range, a certain habitat. And inside these habitats, every single of these species has different activities, and these activities are represented as something that is called need zones. Yeah, need zones. You are gonna hear that word a lot. The need zones are possibly the most important element about this game. So understanding the basics on how they work is definitely one of the most important tips I can give you for a beginner. You know, basically there are 3 types of need zones. We have the drink zones, the feed zones, and the rest zones. So first of all, the drink zones are essentially areas where the animals choose to drink, and they are normally located, of course, around the water, normally close to the edge of the lakes or close to the edge of the rivers. For example, this icon right here is a drink zone, a moose drink zone, which as you can see says from 1200 to 1600. Why from 1200 to 1600? Well, that is basically because the moose drink time, the predetermined moose drink time as a species, is from 1200 to 1600. So what this means is that within this time window, a particular moose, which could be a single moose or multiple moose, are gonna come to drink on this area every single day. And the same applies for every single moose drink zone around the map, because every single moose in your map has a drink zone somewhere within their habitat. And since every moose in the map will be drinking at the exact same time, from 1200 to 1600, it is only a matter of knowing exactly where they can drink in order to be able to easily find them. You know, as a beginner, understanding how the need zones work on this game is definitely one of the most important tips I can give you. They are very important to be able to find and to be able to hunt lots of animals, especially in the case of the drink zones, because the drink zones tend to be on open areas and on very predictable locations, since they are always located on a source of water. So to summarize this tip, if you want to significantly increase your chances of finding lots of animals, make sure to move close to the water and make sure to learn every single water source where the species you wanna hunt can drink, as well as their drink time. And you may be wondering, where can I see all that information? Well, if you wanna know every single location for every single animal in the game, I highly recommend you to join my Discord server. I have spent hundreds of hours over the course of the last 5 years, also with the help of my community, exploring every single map in the game, and now, we have every single hotspot map for every single species on every map. These maps have been receiving constant updates over the last few years whenever a new location is found, so up to this point they are quite accurate, and the most recent versions also show some extra important information about each species. And in addition to locations, another place where you're also gonna find plenty of very useful information for all the animals, basically everything you need to know about all the species, is on the Call of the Wild info server. Now guys, apart from knowing how to find animals, another thing that is also very important is to know exactly how to shoot an animal. So guys, first of all, the first thing that is absolutely crucial to understand before shooting any animal is that not every weapon and not every caliber is appropriate to hunt every species. I know that is completely obvious, but what I mean with this is that you gotta know how to tell which caliber is ethical to hunt the species you wanna hunt. How can you know this? Well, the first thing you gotta pay attention to is, first of all, the class of the animal you are hunting. The class of the animal is revealed at the little box of information that appears on the top right corner at the moment you spot an animal. For example, right now we're hunting whitetail, and as you can see, the whitetail, just as the blacktail, is a class 4 animal. So let's go to our inventory, ammo section, and here we can see the 270 soft point bullets that you can use on the 270 Stradivarius are appropriate to hunt class 4 to 8 animals, which means they can be used on whitetail. So once you have an appropriate weapon to hunt the species you wanna hunt, the next step is to know exactly where to shoot an animal to kill it as quickly as possible. You have to make sure to aim for vital organs, and the biggest and easiest vital organs to hit are the lungs. Just make sure to do so from a reasonable distance. You know, as a beginner, having the basic scope, the closer you can get from the animal, the better. The better you can see it through the scope, the more chances you'll have to make an accurate shot. The beginner scope is honestly really bad, so try to get to a distance where you can see the animal perfectly while aiming with it. I think 100 meters should be fine. And getting to 100 meters should be very easy as long as you do it while crouch walking. And by the way, if you want to know the exact distance you are from the animal, just make sure to place a waypoint exactly where the animal is. You can do this from the map or using the binoculars. I personally prefer to place it using the binoculars since it is normally way more accurate than when you place it on the map. But if you want to place it on the map, simply go to a map and look for this green icon. This green icon is essentially the last animal you spotted. So once you place the waypoint, the next thing you have to pay attention to determine if it's actually gonna be possible to get as close as you want, which is 100 meters away from the animal, is the wind. If the green cone that appears down there, which reflects the direction the wind is blowing, happens to be pointing directly towards the animal or close to directly towards the animal, it is gonna be very risky to try to get closer than 150 meters, since below that distance the animal will most likely be able to smell you and it will spook. So before attempting an approach, definitely make sure to pay attention to the wind. And if the wind happens to be good, like on this case, you have the green light to approach the animal. We are gonna try to get to 100 meters away from this whitetail. And once you're in range, the next step is to pay close attention to the exact position of the animal. If the animal is completely broadside, like it is at the moment, the best possible shot we can take is a shot right behind the shoulder, aiming to hit it double long. And that should do it. Yeah. Whenever the animal you're about to shoot is completely broadside or almost completely broadside, go for that shot. That is the safest and most effective shot you can take on the great majority of the species. Our goal on this shot was to hit at least a single long, and we did hit a single long. Nice shot. Nice shot, but at the same time it was a very easy shot since the angle was perfect, and realistically not every single animal you want to shoot will be completely broadside. So it's also crucial to know how to hit a barrel from multiple angles. Not every angle will be perfect, and not every situation will be exactly the same, so you have to be ready. You have to be ready to drop an animal regardless of its position. For example, on this case, let's say I want to drop this moose. He is currently quartering to us, so the angle is far from being ideal to hit it double long. Well, even for a single long, because this 270 doesn't have enough penetration to reach a double long on a moose, and especially not using the soft point bullets. So yeah, this angle is terrible to even hit a single long, which means our best option to drop this moose using the beginner equipment is to go for a hard shot. I don't think you should be hunting any moose until you get the polymer tip bullets for the 270, but let's say you stumble across one and you want to drop it. What I would suggest you doing on this situation is to alert the moose to make him go completely head on. Now, in order to alert an animal to get a better shot, what you want to do is to first of all make sure to be at least 150 meters away from the animal, then run for a bit, run for a few seconds to make some noise, and as soon as you notice the animal is moving, go to a crouch position and go for the hard shot. You know, at the moment an animal goes alert, it will face you for only a few seconds, giving you a chance to hit the heart. The hard shots are definitely one of the most effective and quickest ways to kill the majority of the deer species, but they require some practice. So I would recommend you to start practicing with some of the smaller deer like the whitetail and the blacktail, and then move on to the bigger species like the moose and the elk. Now guys, I'm well aware that aiming on this game can be quite challenging when you have no experience, so this next tip is gonna help you a lot to improve your accuracy while aiming. You know, at the moment you aim, you'll notice there's a lot of wobble, a lot of sway. And the more you zoom in, the more drastic the sway becomes. You can sort of control this sway for a few seconds by holding your breath in-game. The difference is generally drastic, but it's still gonna be hard to make the kind of precise shots I just mentioned if you don't know how to control the sway even while holding your breath. At first it may look like it's just a random movement, but there's actually a pattern to it. You'll notice the sway sort of follows the character's breath. When the character breathes in, it goes up, and when it breathes out, it goes down. It isn't like you can hear the character breathing, but you can imagine it this way. So at the moment you hold your breath, even though the sway decreases, it is still there. It's still the same pattern. It goes up slowly, and then it drops. So what the majority of the most experienced players do is that they take advantage of this movement by waiting for the crosshair to drop exactly on the spot they want to shoot. Essentially you aim, then hold your breath, let the crosshair go up naturally, and as soon as it drops on the spot you want to shoot, take the shot. If it doesn't drop there, then repeat the process. The more you practice this movement, the more accurate you will be. You have to learn the timing for this way. And honestly, what I think is the quickest and most effective way to master the shooting sway is by going to the shooting range. The shooting range is located on Hirschfelden, which is the second base game reserve, and is a fantastic place to practice your shooting skills. Simply go to this location right here, and on this place you can enable different targets to practice at different distances. And the best part about it is that you aren't gonna have to spend any money on a single bullet since the ammo is infinite here. Now guys, the next tip I'ma give you on today's video is also very important, and that is to choose the best perks and the best skills to get your hunting experience to the next level. You know, the way this works is that all the way up to level 37, every time you level up, you are gonna receive either a skill point or a perk point. So essentially, if you get a skill point at level 2, then you get a perk point at level 3, then a second skill point at level 4, and they are just gonna alternate all the way up to level 37. Then once you reach level 37, they are gonna continue alternating the same way, except that instead of getting 1 point per every level, you are gonna get 1 point every 3 levels. So if you get a skill point at level 37, the next perk point will come at level 40, and so on and so forth until you reach level 60. So anyway, inside the skills, I think there's one that is very important to unlock as a beginner. We are gonna go over the ambusher skills, and right here, the first skill point you get at the beginning, I would suggest you to put it on the Scent Tinkerer skill. And I would really recommend you, when you are starting out, the next 3 skill points you get, I highly recommend you to spend them on the Spotting Knowledge skill, this one. Then after unlocking the 3 levels on this one, you're also gonna want to spend 1 point on Sight Spotting, simply to be able to spot the animals while using a scope. And then, going over the Stalker skills, you'll want to spend 1 point on Low-Key Tracks just to unlock the first tier. And on the first tier, I would suggest you to spend all 3 points on all 3 levels on Track Knowledge. Then you'll also want to spend 2 points on Soft Fit, 1 point on Connected Odds, 1 point on Improvised Blind, and then you can spend the remaining skill points on whatever you want. Now let's go over the perks. Here on the perks, your main priority should be to unlock as many perks as possible, as quickly as possible within the rifle section, with the exception of this Wind Dash perk, which is honestly kinda trash. The most important perk within this section, even though they are all gonna make a difference, is the zeroing perk. The zeroing perk is gonna let you adjust the zero distance of your rifle for 150 meters, which is the default zero distance, for 300 meters, and for 75 meters. Well, actually, the exact zero distances can vary on some weapons, but in most cases it will be like that. So essentially, the way it works is, for example, if you zero your rifle for 300 meters, and you are exactly 300 meters away from the animal, the bullet will hit exactly where you aim. Like exactly. You know, as long as the zero distance you choose matches the distance you are from the animal, there's barely gonna be any variation in the bullet trajectory, making it easy to be accurate. However, if for instance you want to shoot an animal that is 220 meters away, and you choose a zero distance of 300 meters, you'll have to aim lower to compensate for the difference between the zero distance and the actual distance, simply because the bullet will hit higher than the center of the crosshair. You know, the greater the difference between the zero distance and the actual distance is, the more you have to compensate with your aim for such difference. And again, a very good place to practice the possible adjustments you'll have to make while using the zeroing perk is on the shooting range. I highly recommend you to go practice there. Now guys, if you're a beginner player who wants to learn a way to make a lot of cash and experience as quickly as possible, make sure to pay close attention to the next tip because it's probably gonna completely change your game. You know, one of the best things about this game is that you can access every single of the 14 DLC maps for free on multiplayer. Every single reserve. So my suggestion is go to multiplayer, search for Emerald Coast, fantastic reserve based off Australia, lots of very cool species, and also amazing to make a lot of money. So join a session, wherever session, and as soon as you join the map, what you want to do is to first of all unlock the first watchtower, then head over to the first outpost, unlock the outpost, then head over to the storage to request a 4-wheeler, and once requested, go and drive it all the way up to this area. Up here, there's an outpost here. You know, essentially, the reason you want to unlock this outpost is because it's gonna give you easy access to the east coast of the map, this entire coast. And this entire coast is the habitat of the saltwater crocodile, which happens to be one of the best species to make easy money and experience, possibly the best one. These crocodiles are very easy to hunt. You can easily find them resting all along this coast, but keep in mind, in order for this method to work, you have to have at least the 270 polymer T bullets. If you still haven't unlocked the 270 polymer T bullets, you have nothing to do here. So anyway, once you have the 270 polymer T bullets, my suggestion is to start on this outpost, head over to the coast, and get ready. The crocodiles on this coast are among the most dangerous and aggressive animals on the entire game. So be prepared to receive constant attacks and also get ready to shoot as many crocodiles as you can. Every time you spot a crocodile that is completely broadside, try to get to 150 meters away from it and go for a neck shot. Aim for the neck. The neck shot is by far the most effective and the safest shot you can take on this species, using this caliber. Master the neck shot on the crocodiles and man, you're gonna make a lot of cash. You can easily make more than $50,000 per hour just hunting crocodiles. So this method is definitely worth mastering. It can be a complete game changer for any beginner.